Peace will fill the world when we finally understand that only from within can it be spread throughout the land. Every single person living peace in what we do, only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true.
Good morning, friends. I'm Leona Evans, minister at Unity of San Luis Obispo, an inclusive, progressive, spiritual community affirming the good in all life. Welcome to our Sunday morning live stream, and welcome to those of you who are meeting live at the Senior Center in San Luis Obispo. It's very exciting to do both a virtual ministry and an in-person ministry. It is truly a joy to be able to serve more people and remind them of the beauty and the power, the life and the love that is inherent within them. So, we have a wonderful service for you today, and let's prepare for it by taking a deep breath and relaxing right where we are. Breathe deeply, feel your muscles relax. Feel those extraneous thoughts just releasing from your awareness. And focus on the presence and power of God, the living Spirit of truth inherent within you and within all of us. Breathe deeply again, relax, focus on the message, on the music, on the meditation. And let us affirm Unity's invocation statement together. I am now in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. Once again, I am now in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. And so it is. Amen. Let's open our service, as always, with a joy song performed by Matthew J. Evans.
Good morning. Today we're going to sing Love is Like a Magic Penny. Please sing along with the lyrics on the bottom of the screen. Love is something if you give it away, give it away, give it away. Love is something if you give it away, you end up having more. Love is like a magic penny, hold it tight and you won't have any. Lend it, spend it, you'll have so many, they'll roll all over the floor. Ooh, love is something if you give it away, give it away, give it away. Hey, love is something if you give it away, you end up having more. Love is like a magic penny, hold it tight and you won't have any. Lend it, spend it, you'll have so many, they'll roll all over the floor. Oh, love is something if you give it away, give it away, give it away. Hey, love is something if you give it away, you end up having more. Have a great morning, everybody.
Thank you so much, Matthew. That was just terrific. Thank you. Well, today we're going to take another look at a very important set of spiritual tools called the 4 Agreements, developed by the Toltec master Don Miguel Ruiz close to 20 years ago. The wisdom is timeless, and the way Don Miguel Ruiz presents these teachings has made a tremendous impact on thousands of people throughout the world. Well, every year or so, I like to review this work because every time we hear these messages, we find greater wisdom and meaning in them. So, I would like to affirm that no matter how familiar you might be with these ideas, you find deeper meaning in them today, which will have a positive and powerful impact on your lives. Well, the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. Now, at first glance, we assume this means be honest and consistent with the words that we say. Now, this is an extremely important agreement to make with ourselves because too often, in an effort to be kind or to stay out of trouble, we will say something that compromises our honesty. Although we might think these words are harmless and don't make a difference one way or another, the truth is that they do chip away at our integrity. Instead of being honest and consistent with our words, we are mostly honest and somewhat consistent, which means that our real agreement with ourselves is to avoid conflict and stay out of trouble, which is not the same as being impeccable with our word. This is one reason why we have trust issues in our relationships. If we can't trust ourselves to be impeccable with our word, how are we supposed to trust others? I have a wonderful example of how this works. Some years ago, the Biography Channel ran a series of commercials featuring Martin Short, this wonderful comedian, so creative. Now, in this particular spot, which is absolutely one of my favorites, he plays President Abraham Lincoln, talking about his nickname of Honest Abe. Just then, his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, enters the room and asks her husband, "Does this dress make me look fat?" Now he knows that he can't be Honest Abe and still tell his wife what she wants to hear. He can't be Honest Abe and still tell his wife what she wants to hear. Now, the commercial doesn't tell us what decision Honest Abe makes, but it does point out a real flaw in what society expects of us in relation to our word. Another way of being impeccable with our word is to only use words that reflect our true nature. Now, this means we need to remember that we are spiritual beings by nature and that we are worthy and deserving of holding ourselves to the highest standards of expression. Instead, we often put ourselves down and disregard our true worth. Now, how often do we call ourselves ugly, stupid, pejorative names like that? How often do we judge ourselves harshly and keep on berating ourselves for making mistakes that would be simple to release if we just made the connections and moved on? Arun Gandhi referred to negative self-talk as passive violence against our own nature. Clearly, we don't realize that by continually referring to ourselves as flawed, we become a house divided within our own consciousness. Unless we become impeccable with our word and reflect our own spiritual nature in our self-talk, we'll always keep trying to be good enough, when the truth is, we are already good enough. We were born good enough. And unless we treat ourselves with respect for who and what we are, we will not be impeccable with our word. Now, does this mean that we will never make a mistake and we have to actually be in denial and compliment ourselves all the time? Of course not. Mistakes are part of life. We all make mistakes. What it does mean to be impeccable with our word is that we will not equate something we did with who we are and beat ourselves up for it. If we made a mistake, we made a mistake. It doesn't mean it's over for us. It doesn't mean we're bad people. It doesn't mean we failed as humans. It means we made a mistake and we have an opportunity to learn and grow from it, not to continue to beat ourselves up for it. Each day, we need to use our affirmations to remember ourselves and allow our words to reflect the truth of who we are, and that we are always worthy and deserving of our highest good. I am a spiritual being, learning to have human experiences. I was born in love, and I am good by nature. This is one way to be impeccable with our word. Let's take a moment now to listen to some beautiful music by Brett Mitchell and Matthew J. Evans.
Here's a tune from Broadway and the musical Damn Yankees. 1955, debuted on Broadway, and the movie was 57. And I believe it was Tab Hunter. I think Ray Walston played the devil. Yeah. He made Tab not doing too good, so he made a deal with the devil to help out the Yankees. Damn Yankees. Here it is. We go. Ready?
Oh, yeah.
All right. There's my note. You gotta have a heart. All you really need is heart. When the odds are saying you'll never win, that's when the grin should start. Gotta have a heart. Mustn't sit around and roll. Nothing's half as bad as it may appear. Wait till next year. When your luck is back in zero, get your chin off the ground. Mister, you can be a hero. You can open any door. There's nothing to it but to do it. You gotta have a heart. Miles and miles and miles of heart. Oh, it's fine to be a genius, of course, but keep that old horse before the carts. First, you gotta have a heart. You gotta have a heart. All you really need is heart. When the odds are saying you'll never win, that's when the grin should start. It should start. You gotta have a heart. Mustn't sit around and roll. Nothing's half as bad as it may appear. Wait till next year and hold. When your luck is back in zero, get your chin up off the ground. Mister, you can be a hero. You can open any door. There's nothing to it but to do it. You gotta have a heart. Miles and miles and miles of heart. Oh, it's fine to be a genius, of course, but keep that old horse before the cart. Yes, you gotta have a heart. First, you gotta have a heart. Yes, you gotta have a heart. Simply gotta have. You gotta have a heart.
Heart.
Damn Yankees. Words and music by Richard Adler and Jerry Ross from 1955 and 1957 for the movie. All right. Thanks, kid. You were good.
Oh, you were good, man. That was so much fun. I love that
You
one.
had fun?
Oh, of course, always.
Thank you so much, Brett Mitchell and Matthew J. Evans. I love that number. It's so adorable. You guys performed it beautifully. And Damn Yankees is a wonderful musical. Thank you so much. Well, we're talking about the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, Toltec master. Now, the ideas, of course, are universal, like all of our great mystical teachings. But Don Miguel Ruiz put it in such a way that it grabbed on to the people's minds and hearts, and so many people have been helped by it. I love the idea of not repeating, but doing a lesson on the 4 Agreements once a year. Because every time I do it, I get something more out of it. And it's just like any of our great teachings. We never really repeat ourselves. We say things in another way that sparks another reaction from us in a very positive way, opens up doors. So I'm excited to be doing another round of the 4 Agreements. Now, the second agreement is don't take anything personally. Again, this is much more easily said than done because our ego is so fragile. We tend to take everything personally. For the ego, the most important thing is to be highly regarded by others, to be seen as good, as flawless. However, this is not always possible because each of us is coming from a different perspective. And because of this, we will see things not as they are, but as we are. And very often, what we say comes out as projection. In other words, taking a situation instead of owning it ourselves, putting it onto someone else. You're the one that has the problem. You're the one that does this. You see, our background, our specific personality type, our personal interests and tastes all play a part in how we see things. This is part of the diversity within unity. Unless we accept the truth that we cannot please everyone, we will continue to be hurt by the random comments of others, and we will spend a great deal of time focusing on how to live up to their expectations rather than honoring and expressing who we really are. Remember, who we are is enough. Now, does this mean we don't take constructive criticism or that we avoid taking input from others? Of course not. There are always those who can bless us with their wisdom and insights, and it's really important to be open to that, even though it might not be delivered in a necessarily positive way. We need to turn within and ask the divine I am, is there something in this that I can learn from, grow from? However, the most important thing to remember is this. I'm going to quote Don Miguel Ruiz. He says, taking things personally makes you easy prey for predators. They can hook you easily with one little opinion and feed you whatever poison they want. And because you take it personally, you eat it up. You take all their emotional garbage and it becomes your garbage. But if you do not take it personally, you are immune to its effects. This is the gift of this agreement. Whatever it is that comes our way, if we have practiced being impeccable with our word, then it becomes less of an effort to not take things personally because we know who we are. Of course, it's going to sting. We have a lifetime of taking things personally. But the point is, the gift of this agreement is to remain neutral in the face of even the deepest criticism. And the only question that is ours to ask is, how can I learn from this? Is there anything I can grow from? We carefully pick out those things that can work for us, and we gently lay aside the rest because it doesn't belong to us. It is a very, very, very important gift. I interviewed Don Miguel Ruiz close to 20 years ago when the book first came out, and he visited us in San Luis Obispo. Well, I had 2 radio interviews with him, as well as introducing him as speaker. And he said to me, "Leona, you are a wonderful interviewer." And I got so dazzled by that coming from him that I said, "Listen, is it okay if I take this personally?" Because I wanted to. This was, of course, we all laughed. We had a good laugh over that. But the fact is, the gift of the agreement of not taking things personally is to stand tall in our truth, regardless of so-called evidence to the opposite. Well, the third agreement is don't make assumptions. Don Miguel Ruiz tells us that making assumptions leads to suffering and that we should avoid it as much as possible. He tells us that when we make assumptions, we immediately believe them to be true. This causes us misunderstanding. It causes us to take things personally, place blame, and use our word to great disadvantage. The question is, why do we make assumptions? Why? Well, Don Miguel Ruiz tells us we have the need to justify everything, to explain and understand everything in order to feel safe. It's not important if the answer is correct. Just the answer itself makes us feel safe. This is why we make assumptions. If others tell us something, we make assumptions. And if they don't tell us something, we make assumptions to fulfill our need to know and to communicate. Even if we hear something and we don't understand, we make assumptions about what it means and then believe the assumption. Oh, we make all kinds of assumptions because we don't have the courage to ask questions. Now, I think this is particularly true in our society today. I'm sure you're all aware of the extraordinary number of conspiracy theories that are prevalent in our society. When we understand that the reason we make assumptions is because we need to feel safe and we need to know, we can easily see how frightened and insecure most of us are. Even so, we really need to recognize that making assumptions is not a substitute for the truth. And asking questions to clarify our concepts is really necessary to avoid falling into the trap of believing things we don't have evidence for. It's important in the 5 sense world. We need evidence. It's important to remember to ask questions, to do our research, our due diligence, to avoid making assumptions, and let go of the need to know the reason for everything. This is really important. There are so many assumptions that we make in our everyday lives. I picked out one story that I learned in an epistemology class, which is the nature of knowledge. How do we know what we know? And it's a story about two friends. The visiting friend came to the other's home and he saw there was a football game on, and he said, "Oh man, what a great game. Who are you going to bet on?" And the host told him which team he was going to bet on. He said, "Okay, I'll take the other one." At the end of the game, the host won the bet. And the other friend said, "How could you possibly know that that team was going to win? It was such a long shot." And the host said, "Well, actually, the game was aired yesterday. This is just a repeat." How is anyone to know? How do we find out? Well, I suppose after that experience, the friend would come to anybody's house where a game was on and would say, "Is this a repeat, or have you seen this before we make a bet?" Good question. But who would think of it? Who would think of it? So making assumptions makes us feel safe in the short run. We know an answer, we have an answer. It's either aliens or spies or whatever the story might be. And for some reason, just having an answer, doesn't matter what it is, just having an answer and having a group of people around us to affirm that makes us feel better, it makes us feel safer, but only in the short run. Only in the short run, especially now with our elections coming up and all kinds of news being shoved around and bandied about. It is really important for us to ask, how do you know? Not how do you know, but how do you know? Where is the evidence to support this? How are you verifying the point you're making? And even though we can't find an answer, it's much better than trying to fool ourselves and having a false sense of safety. Well, the fourth agreement is always do your best. Always do your best is not the same as always doing the best. It involves doing the best that we can manage, which varies from situations and circumstances we might encounter. Now, if I'm feeling healthy, strong, and prepared for the task that lies ahead of me, I'll be much more effective than if I have the flu or a fever and focusing on just making it through the task. This is common sense, and yet so many of us blame ourselves for situations that we couldn't avoid, which might have kept us from doing our personal best. Remember, at all times and in all ways, we need to do our best. Don Miguel Ruiz says, "When you do your best, you don't give the judge the opportunity to find you guilty or to blame you. If you have done your best and the judge tries to judge you according to your book of law, you've got the answer. I did my best. There are no regrets." And that's why we always strive to do our best. Now, keep in mind that in a situation where we're not completely prepared or in the best of health, we still make an effort to do the best we can. This is the point of always doing your best. Just because things don't seem to be going our way or the conditions are not optimum doesn't mean we give up trying to do our best or quit before we try. It means that under all circumstances, we need to be conscious of doing the best we can and avoid blame or shame whenever possible. Don Miguel says, always doing your best is the agreement that helps keep the other agreements. and this is a very good point, when we approach working with these agreements, the idea is to read the agreement, to internalize the agreement, to meditate on it, to pray about it, and then go out and, no matter what the circumstances, do our best. Let's give thanks for another opportunity to work with the 4 agreements and to learn more, to internalize more, to be able to remember ourselves, remember that we are the Spirit of God in expression, and at all times and in all ways, we are loved unconditionally and good by nature. Take a deep breath now and relax. It's time in our service for meditation, inner contemplation, and integration of today's message. The message is the 4 agreements. And I am impeccable with my word. I speak words of truth, of light, of love. I no longer put myself down with pejorative statements and inner conflicts. Instead, I speak words of truth that remind me of my divine nature and my true purpose in life. I also remember to not take anything personally that might disturb the calm peace of my soul. Even though I might make mistakes, I am good and lovable by nature. And I know that I don't need to try to please everyone. I don't make assumptions. I ask questions. I search out facts. I am not frightened or deluded by conspiracy theories. Rather, I am centered and poised, searching out facts and finding the real story behind the rumors. I always do my best, whether I feel in top form or not. I always go into a task, whether I'm feeling well or not, knowing that I need to give the best I can under those circumstances, to not slough anything off. But to do and feel and be my best at that moment. Secure in my agreements, I give thanks in the name of the living Spirit of truth. And so it is. Amen. It's time now in our service to bless the offerings that we would share with Unity of San Luis Obispo. And we give grateful thanks that we have a thriving ministry, both in person and virtually, and that consciousness is being raised every time we do a service, that people are being blessed, and that each of us is prospered in all ways. And so let's remember that as we give, so shall we receive. And if we were inspired in any way by today's service, to please share your tithes with us and feel the universe supporting you 30, 60, 100-fold. Let's speak the words of our prosperity statement together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I give and all that I receive.
Here is a beautiful bit of music from the great composer Victor Young and the great movie East of Eden. Of course, that starred James Dean, Julie Harris, and Burl Ives. And I saw it the other day, and I thought, that's a good theme. I'm going to learn it. So here goes. One. East of Eden from Victor Young. 1955 for that beautiful, wonderful movie from a John Steinbeck novel. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank
Very
you.
nice.
That was wonderful. Oh, what a beautiful movie.
Thank you so much, Brett Mitchell and Matthew J. Evans. What a moving song. Wonderful to take to our hearts and to allow it to inspire us. You two always do such a wonderful job, and thank you for your beautiful interpretation of this song. Let's sing our peace song, shall we?
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my joyful vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And now let's speak the words of our prayer for protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Friends, please remember to press the like button and share your comments with us. We really appreciate hearing from you. Also, please tune in to our Get Off Your Affirmation podcast and look for episode 53. That is the episode which is a reproduction of the interview that I did with Don Miguel Ruiz so many years ago, close to 20 years ago, that I was talking about during the lesson this morning. He was absolutely enlightening, entertaining, and it was a wonderful time that we had together. Friends, God bless you and have a wonderful week. You deserve it.
Every single person living peace in what we do. Only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true.